Right now at 6, a stormy Christmas on deck around the bay. We're tracking the timing and potential trouble spots for flooding, plus the Christmas Eve cleanup after the last strong storm.
We maybe got 30 minutes of sleep. Actually, we're getting a call right now.
We're keeping an eye on the damage from trees down in the North Bay to widespread power problems in Monterey.
At a certain point, we just can't be open.
And later, the final push for a chance at $1.5 billion.
It could be life-changing.
We'll visit a lucky store in the East Bay ahead of one of the largest Powerball jackpots in history.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on this Christmas Eve. I'm Sarah Donchi. Juliette has the night off. All right, this is all the rain. We're firmly in the middle of a very stormy week. It's already brought a lot of rain and wind damage already. This is a live look at our Doppler radar. And as you can see, the rain is just kind of streaming through the Bay Area. Today was clear for the most part, but the next storm system is starting to make its way onshore. The previous round caused plenty of damage overnight and into this morning. Up in Sonoma County, a tree crashed through a house. It almost landed on a sleeping toddler, which, as you can imagine, was incredibly scary for everyone there. And down in Monterey, thousands of people are still without power after the winds ripped down trees and utility poles. And now we are just waiting for the next wave. This is a live look around the bay. Can't really see anything too crazy from this vantage point. It's been relatively calm. There's still rain, though. So let's get right to meteorologist Darren Peck with more on how all of that is going to change tonight, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's going to get more intense tonight. Look at this line that extends out off the coast. You see how far south this goes? Let's change our perspective. When you look at California as a whole, and now we look at the radar in its place, this comes through in waves. Here's the first one right now. That's the one we're watching. Comes through, and you can see there's the 7 o'clock hour. We'll still be looking at that line we were just watching. But that is just the start. It's going to come through like spinning pinwheels. Here comes the next one. This one's going to be more impressive. And this one comes through at about 1 o'clock in the morning, which you'll see right there. 1 o'clock to about 3 o'clock in the morning. That is going to get your attention because it's going to be fairly heavy rain. But wait, watch what happens then on Thursday. Thursday's different than today. Today, the rain pretty much stopped at sunrise. Tomorrow's not doing that. Tomorrow, the rain's going to keep coming, and one of the more impressive lines could be here. That one looks like it's got some pretty intense thunderstorms with it, and that one needs to be watched for the intensity of the rain. The wind is the other issue to be aware of. That's going to pick up tonight around midnight. Watch the timing. Bright shades of purple showing up here just as we get towards midnight. Show you the 50-mile-an-hour gusts on the coast. It'll stay that way through like 3 in the morning. As we get towards that 1 a.m., 2 a.m. time frame, this is when most of us feel the strongest wind of the night we're going to get, and that could be a 40-mile-an-hour gust for those of us who are not at the coast, meaning everybody else. We had some trees go down in Sonoma County last night. With the amount of rain we're going to put into the ground and the intensity of the wind tonight, that could happen again, and it could happen anywhere. And then you get some localized power outages from it, and let's hope that tree doesn't happen to come down on something like last night's did on a house. Those should be localized, though. This is the start. I'll be back with the full forecast in a bit. I really want to focus on that Thursday afternoon intensity standpoint. I'll see you with that in a few minutes. For now, Sarah, back to you.
All right, Darren, thank you so much. The power of the winds were on full display up in the North Bay, as we've been talking about tonight. Strong winds toppled this redwood tree onto a family's house in Guerneville. That happened overnight, and it sliced the house in half. Look at that. But perhaps the more amazing part, the 3-year-old who was sleeping inside only ended up with a couple of scratches and bruises.
As you can see, the tree went through this whole section, except it didn't go through right above where my niece was sleeping. So, I mean, I guess you can say God was on her side tonight.
Yeah, no kidding. The girl's grandparents were sleeping beside her, and they also walked away unharmed, which is pretty amazing when you look at all of the damage that this tree did. The neighbors stepped up. They came in and helped seal up the home ahead of the next rain, which was also a very kind gesture. Flooding this morning submerged cars that were parked on Hamilton Road in Menlo Park. Police and emergency crews there went out just before 4:30 this morning. People who live on the street were told to shelter in place while crews worked to rush to clear the drain so the water could go down. The city is still out there clearing debris, and the road has been reopened since this morning. Power outages, always a concern during these kinds of storms. This is a live look at PG&E's online outage map. A good amount of activity out there. The orange spots indicate areas where up to 5,000 customers are in the dark. And as of last hour, PG&E reported almost 16,000 customers impacted in just the Bay Area alone. On the Central Coast, still lots of widespread outages there, too. One of the hardest hit places is Pacific Grove. Businesses we talked to there tell us they have to deal with power problems often. Our Scott Rates shows us how some shops are making do in the dark.
That overnight storm packing a punch in Pacific Grove, trees toppling onto power lines and broken branches could be seen all over.
It's dark.
The power problems impacting nearly 30,000 customers on the Central Coast this Christmas Eve.
We are unfortunately on the grid that lost power.
Businesses here in PG trying to make the best of it.
So we've been sort of following customers around with our flashlights this morning. So we can still take money. We can do cash sales and credit card sales, but without power to light things up, it's difficult to see art in an art gallery when there isn't light. We have flashlights and lanterns.
Adrienne Johnson is the co-owner of Artisana Gallery. She says that normally her art shop would be packed, but today, because of the power outage...
So typically on Christmas Eve, we'll have as many as 150 customers, and I think we've had 3 so far today.
Customers using flashlights to shop, looking for that last-minute gift.
Last-minute Christmas shopping, and it was hard to find places that are open.
Some shops shutting down altogether, like this barber shop, signs out front telling folks about the power issues. For the owners at Lopez Liquors, not having power today is especially bad for business when the Powerball jackpot is through the roof.
1.7 billion, so a lot of people are we're expecting a lot of people, like yesterday was a very busy morning, and we're expecting the same for today, but without power, we cannot do all that.
It seems like storms take out power here all too frequently.
But that's what happens when you live in Pacific Grove. It seems like this is an annual event.
Last year, I think we ended up losing something like 3 weeks of business.
And with another round of wind on the way, businesses here are hoping the lights will come back on soon so that they can start making up for that lost revenue.
At last check, there are still 10,000 customers in the dark in that area. No ETA yet on when the power will be restored there. Be sure to stay with us for more coverage of these storms as they roll through, the damage they leave behind, of course, and the forecast as always. We'll keep you updated on the air and our free CBS News app, as well as our website, kpix.com. More trouble for PG&E, but not directly from the storms. Another substation fire caused a massive power outage this morning, this time down in Santa Clara County. Huge clouds of black smoke were spotted at the substation in Saratoga just before 8:30 a.m. PG&E says the outage affected about 21,000 customers, but crews were able to restore power by noon. The cause of the fire there is still under investigation. And of course, this comes just days after a substation fire in San Francisco that knocked out power for almost a third of the city's PG&E customers. The storm overnight made things harder on firefighters as the public storage facility in Richmond caught fire there. From overhead, you could see the fire charred a wing of the facility on Carlson Boulevard. Video from the Citizen app shows flames coming up from the building as crews were spraying water from above. This is what it looked like a few hours later around midday today. Heavy smoke was still pouring out of the building, which was gutted. We don't know what started the fire or exactly where it started. The fire chief says 4 people were there at the time and they were able to get out safely. He says the timing of the fire at the height of the storm made things even more challenging.
It just really made firefighting operations extremely difficult for our crews, especially our truck companies on the roofs trying to get ahead of the fire, encountering strong winds and rain and low visibility.
If you're in the area of this fire and you happen to notice an odd smell, the fire chief says it's probably roofing material that is burning. Still ahead, here at 6, we're tracking the storm's impacts down in Southern California, too, where floods and mudslides have forced thousands of people from their homes. Plus, how the storms in the Sierra are getting in the way of anybody trying for a quick and quiet mountain getaway for Christmas. And it's enough to stuff a lot of stockings. We'll check in with the Powerball players hoping to cash out on $1.7 billion and how the jackpot is driving up business on Christmas Eve.
Sometimes we have someone just standing right at the lottery machine, and that's all they're doing is printing them out and handing them to the cashiers.
All right, let's take a live look at SFO this evening, where thousands of passengers have been seeing cancellations or delays of their flights because of the weather. Roughly 17% of flights at SFO were delayed today by an average of about 35 minutes. Still, most people, even at SFO, were filled with holiday cheer somehow.
It actually was pretty chill for me.
It was great and smooth, no problems. We were coming up from LA and it was raining and windy there, but there wasn't any problems.
Oh, it's nice to hear that there were no problems for at least some people. A live look now at traffic along the Golden Gate Bridge and the Bay Bridge. Things are moving, seeing some brake lights, but not too bad. People are heading home this evening for Christmas Eve or out to be with their families before the storm arrives tonight. This isn't a still image. This is video of the traffic that we're seeing on I-80 in Kingvale. This is totally different. This is not good. This is heading up to Tahoe, where these snowy roads have grinded traffic to a screeching halt. This was this morning. Chains are required from Placer County to the Nevada state line. Here is the Sierra snowfall from the west side of Lake Tahoe. You can see how much snow has been piling up along the docks and on the trees. They have been waiting for this kind of snowfall. All that powder is really a welcome sight for a lot of the resorts that have been so slow to open because of a drier winter so far. At Sugar Bowl, the snow is starting to pile up on the ski lifts just in time for their scheduled reopening date on Friday.
It's really exciting to see the snow finally falling, and it's a little wet, but that'll be good to pack down the base, and hopefully we'll get to see everybody on skis by this weekend.
Right now, chains are required on I-50 to Myers for all non-four-wheel drive cars. Meanwhile, semi-trucks are advised to stay away from I-80 after multiple trucks have already spun out. I don't know what's on your Christmas list, but tonight someone could get $1.7 billion. We are less than 2 hours away from the drawing for the fourth largest Powerball jackpot in history. But look at that timeline, the countdown clock there. That's important because you've got about 48 minutes to buy your ticket. And with the payout that huge up for grabs, people are rushing to get their tickets, even at the last minute. Brad Hamilton caught up with players at a gas station in Dublin with a recent history of good lotto luck.
Let's go get this ticket.
Sharon Davis isn't a lotto regular. In fact, she can't remember the last time she bought a ticket until today.
I agree.
Why the change? Well, about 1.7 billion reasons.
We give a lot to charity, lots to charity, and I have a nonprofit, so I'd put a lot into that.
While Sharon dreams of doing good, the Dublin Chevron that she stopped at is seeing the payoff. The owner, Tim Johnson, says when the Powerball hits 10 digits, business picks up fast.
Anytime it hits $1 billion, the lotto sales go up here about 10%, and now that it's up higher even, it's up about 15%.
Johnson says this station has become a regular stop for people chasing the jackpot. Whether it's the Dublin name, the easy access, or just a feeling, on days like today, the demand is so high, one cashier is often dedicated to the lottery only.
Sometimes we have someone just standing right at the lottery machine, and that's all they're doing is printing them out and handing them to the cashiers when the people request tickets.
And this Chevron isn't the only gas station in town feeling it, as the $1 billion jackpot awaits tonight. The Dublin Exxon had $1 million winner earlier this year. That's exactly why Jay Smith is here.
I'm here a lot because these guys have a lot of winners.
And while Jay buys what he hopes is the one, he's keeping his expectations realistic.
Well, if I win the 1.7 billion, it could be life-changing, but right now I would be happy with even the smallest one, a couple million.
I'm gonna buy.
As for Sharon, well, she may not be a regular player, but she does have a strategy if her number is called tonight.
You have to tell your family and your friends, and then you have to give it all away.
All right, so if nobody wins the jackpot tonight, which as we all know happens a lot, there is a chance that the next drawing could feature a jackpot near the record, more than $2 billion. That record was set in 2022. The prize was won by a man in Altadena down in Los Angeles County. Coming up, the January wildfires are still creating issues in LA County, how the winter storms are making a mess in areas that were scorched almost a year ago. We have seen some damage here in the Bay Area from the storms, but virtually all of Southern California is under a state of emergency right now because of their winter storm. This is video from Wrightwood in the San Bernardino Mountains, where entire neighborhoods have been covered in mud and debris. Flash flooding and mudslides are tearing through roadways all over San Bernardino County. Look at this. This was Interstate 15 and Highway 18 where conditions turned really dangerous. Imagine getting stuck in that. Caltrans is urging drivers to avoid the area, use alternate routes. Emergency crews are there on the scene rescuing people who have been trapped in their cars. In some neighborhoods, rising floodwaters have reached the front doors and windows of houses. This is what it looked like in East Altadena earlier. Heavy rain is causing dangerous mud flows there. In some areas, debris has piled up to 4 feet high. Evacuation orders are in effect for several burn scar areas, including the Palisades and Eaton fire zones. The Eaton fire zone, of course, in Altadena. One resident says he's staying there. He says he trusts the K-rail barriers to protect his property from the mud.
The mud goes around the house. It never comes up here. So even though there's evacuation, we don't leave for mud. We leave for fire.
Okay, well, I'm glad he's confident. We hope for the best as always. And even in the metro areas of LA, the heavy rain is causing problems. A FedEx truck crashed on the 5 this morning, forcing all northbound lanes in San Fernando to close for several hours. The packages spilled out of the truck and across the freeway. Unclear if anybody was hurt in that crash. Darren, it's hard to prepare for that kind of water and rainfall.
Very different storm for Southern California. It is in a very intense way for them. For us, I'm basically standing on like where Vegas is. See where the storm is as it's coming in for us? It's going to come in waves throughout tomorrow and Friday. We've still got to get through all that out in the Pacific. Let's pull out the detail on this. I want you to see how this storm's going to come in. First, watch the different spinning pinwheels. We were just looking at the center of the low spinning off the coast. Most of that sits out here. It'll kind of make sense now when you see individual lines, almost like a spinning pinwheel, keep coming through. There's one for tomorrow morning. There's a few more as we get into the morning. Here comes the afternoon, and that one does look quite intense. For Thursday afternoon, as that one comes right through the bay, and then there will be a few more. So I just wanted you to see it that way so that you could at least get the big picture overview for why this is going to go through Friday. But the headlines are going to be early tomorrow morning before sunrise, and then again likely tomorrow afternoon. Here's why we would say that. We'll watch the leading edge of the rain come on, isolated scattered showers, hit and miss, thunderstorm here or there, and then the lines show up. That's the cold front. That gets us to about midnight. Watch that line race its way across the entire Bay Area. Could be coming in multiple waves like that, actually. Just think between like midnight and like 4 a.m., some of the heavier bands of rain will come in, along with some of the strongest wind. And then when we get to tomorrow morning and the sun comes up, you'll get occasional breaks of blue sky, but they won't last all day because there will be follow-up storms that come in after that. That's the one for the afternoon. This is the one that I don't want people to get caught off guard by. 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That is easily one of the more impressive radar signatures of this entire thing. We have the potential to see some pretty strong thunderstorms in that, maybe even the kinds of systems that can little cells that can drop funnel clouds. And it's fully possible for Northern California to see weak, low-grade tornadoes. We've done it for the past several winters. Think back to Scotts Valley last December. They are possible. The odds are low, but it is not a 0% chance. And these are the kinds of environments where that can happen. You can see these very narrow bands, which then blossom out into wider signatures, is usually a good way of picking out where one might be. That would come through the afternoon. Keep in mind, this is going to happen after you will have gotten several hours of blue sky through the middle of the day. So just don't get head faked by that. When you walk out at, let's say, noon, 1 o'clock tomorrow, and it's a beautiful day, this is still coming, late afternoon, early evening. And then we go into Thursday night, into Friday morning. We lose some of the energy from the daylight heating. That will allow the intensity of the storms to abate a bit, but not entirely. This storm is coming with its own energy, and it's going to be able to develop isolated thunderstorms. On again, off again, all the way through Friday. Look at the time. We're now looking at Friday afternoon. It just kind of kept on going like that. Things should quiet down and weaken a bit as we get into Friday, but it's still going to be raining. It's really Thursday morning and then again afternoon where some of the more intense stuff is going to come through. And you look at the rainfall totals, this is enough. We are likely going to run into some issues on roadways. Localized flooding issues on Bay Area roads could happen anywhere depending on where those cells pop up. Tomorrow morning before sunrise is one of the more likely time frames for that. But then again, Friday afternoon when that second wave of rain comes through. So just keep those two really we're in a flood watch all the way through Friday. But those are the two time frames where it could come on quickly. In other words, it'll happen as you're on the road and you didn't know it was coming. So just be aware of those two things. Isolated thunderstorms tomorrow, maybe some flooding. Going to get windy. Let's show you what the wind looks like here. When we visualize the wind field for this storm, there's the low. The purple shows you where the winds are strongest as that energy has to round the base of this thing. And over the next 4 or 5 hours, it's going to spin that area right into the bay. And that's when our gusts make it up to 50 miles an hour tonight. 50-mile-an-hour gusts between about midnight and 4 a.m. That's on the coast. For your part of the bay, if you don't live on the coastline, anywhere else, 30 to 40-mile-an-hour gusts between midnight and 4 a.m. That is strong enough that we're likely going to have some issues once again with some localized power outages due to the possibility of an occasional downed tree, kind of like the story we had earlier in the newscast of the tree that came down last night in Sonoma County. That could happen again tonight. Really anywhere is just as vulnerable to that happening. So just be aware of that as we go through the overnight hours. All right, in the 7-day forecast, we're going to get a break after this. Let's get through Friday. The weekend looks great, no rain. And then next week should be fairly quiet too. I don't see any significant storms coming just yet, but that could come after the 7-day. All right, Sarah, back to you.
When we come back, how one San Francisco institution is making sure our most vulnerable neighbors get a great Christmas meal and how you can help feed families. Plus, here's a look at what's ahead on the CBS Evening News.
You know the flamingo, but you probably haven't seen one in the wild. That may be changing. Tonight on the CBS Evening News, we will show you the hopeful signs coming out of Florida's Everglades.
Now you can get your KPIX news, weather, and live stream all in one place on the CBS News app. Download it free today.
All right, here our kids are probably awake right now eating cookies, but across the world, thousands of children are already fast asleep, eagerly awaiting Santa Claus and his sleigh full of presents. The NORAD Santa tracker shows him just crossing the Atlantic. He's flying above the Caribbean right now. He just passed Puerto Rico, so hopefully he said hello to my family. He's still got a long night ahead of him, though, before he can get back to the North Pole for Christmas morning. Busy guy. All month long, we have been bringing you some of the best and brightest holiday displays across the Bay Area. There have been a lot to choose from. Now we invite you to join us for our special Decked Out for the Holidays. If you missed part 1 tonight, don't worry. Part 2 airs tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m. You can watch right here on KPIX and stream it on the free CBS News app. And check this out. People who were in search of a very last-minute Christmas tree were able to pick one up for free at the Delancey Street Christmas tree lot. They gave away about 50 of them to families just in time for Christmas. This holiday season, our annual Food for Bay Area Families Drive rolls on. You can scan the QR code that you see there on your screen to help us support our local food banks. Today, a holiday tradition at Glide in San Francisco held in honor of a man who loved to give back. Glide's annual Prime Rib Brunch Feast brought out nearly 2,400 people. This year's event is being held in honor of Joe Betts, the owner of the House of Prime Rib, who led this event and passed away earlier this year. This is a tradition that Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi and San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie say they are happy to be a part of.
My husband was at the funeral and said that you pronounced that this would go on as long as you had prime rib.
So it's an honor for my family and I to be here to serve along with so many others.
Glide will also deliver 200 meals to encampments across the city. Meantime, across the Bay, you have the opportunity to give a big boost to the food bank of Contra Costa and Solano. The food bank tells us right now a local nonprofit is matching all donations up to $50,000, but it's a limited time offer that ends on Friday.
Every little bit helps, and it really is what will sustain us through the rest of the year and all of the challenges that our community who experiences hunger is going to be facing.
And a lot of people really need help right now. Last year, the food bank served about 65,000 households every month. This year, that really spiked to more than 79,000 households. So that just demonstrates the need here. If you want to support our Food for Bay Area Families initiative, you could just scan the QR code on your screen there or head to kpix.com/give There, you'll be able to donate food or funds or your time to food banks across the Bay Area. And be sure to join us for our holiday special, Stories of Hope, airing tomorrow night at 7 p.m. right here on KPIX. You can see the stories behind the effort to feed families all over the Bay. Thanks again for joining us on this Christmas Eve. I hope you are spending it with your friends and families. The CBS Evening News is next here on KPIX. Local news continues streaming on CBS News Bay Area.